Captain Chaudhari. Today I am going to speak about the forward damage. Forward damage that happens to a bulk carrier or a tanker. Typically, let us consider that there is a tank that is empty in the forward part. Now, if there is an empty tank that gets damaged in the forward part, it is definitely going to cause the change of trim. Now, this change of trim will not be evident if the tank had liquid. Let us consider a bulk carrier in ballast condition. All the double bottom tanks which are underwater, they are full. There is salt water ballast inside the tank. The ship is also floating in salt water. So now what happens is two things happen. Like after damage to these tanks, the buoyancy which these tanks were providing, that buoyancy is lost. But after damage, what happens is the water inside these tanks is no more the property of the ship. It is property of the sea. So the ship does not have to carry that weight. If the ship does not have to carry that weight and that weight is not property of the ship, then what happens? The draft does not change. Bulk carrier in ballast condition having the saltwater ballast in the tank, if the tank is ruptured, duty officer will have no indication in respect of change of draft, change of trim. Only thing is the sounding of these tanks when taken, they will indicate the sounding same as the draft outside. Now we were talking about a tank in the forward part. Let us say it was empty, and if the tank was empty, the permeability is going to be 100%, and we are able to tackle this situation by constant displacement method. Constant displacement method means a method in which the compartment to be damaged is void of liquid, and after the damage, the displacement kg, LCG and intact underwater volume of the ship does not change. We have discussed this constant displacement method. I have discussed it in my other videos, and I will remind you saying that the constant displacement method is extremely accurate method for finding out the final draft, because we are using initial draft at the compartment to be damaged for finding out the sinkage. As I said, if the tank is full, then the change of trim will not be noticeable. But if the tank was empty, then definitely there is change of trim. Now this change of trim can be detected from the bridge. This change of trim can be detected from the bridge. A master should, or duty officer should, always have a monitoring or relationship between the forecastle and the horizon. Like if the equation between the forecastle and the horizon changes, the master should try and find out why it has happened. When you are taking shower in the bathroom, every day the water used to go in aft direction. Today the water is going in forward direction. What is the problem? The ship's behavior has changed. What is the problem? Now this is how you will be detecting the damage in advanced conditions, in initial stages. And if the damage is detected in the initial stages, please remember, you can save the ship. And if the damage is detected at the 11th hour, then you may not be able to save the ship because a lot of damage has already taken place. Anyone who discovers the bilging, he comes to know that the ship positively is bilged. He hears the sound in an empty tank of water sloshing, etc. Even if he has got 80 or 90% doubt that the ship is bilged, I think he should ring the alarm. Ringing the alarm can save somebody's life. If the duty officer or duty engineer is sleeping, he should be woken up. Every person on the ship ought to know that this is not a normal situation. This is an emergency situation. Right? So everybody needs to know that the situation is not normal anymore, and he should do his at least he is aware about the emergency situation. He will also contribute to the work on the ship that is supposed to be done. Now, alarm should be rung for considerable period of time. I mean, informing the master can be later than ringing the alarm. There is no ego hassle. I mean, if you can save somebody's life, right? What happens if somebody is trapped inside the duck keel? The alarm is not sounded in time. Later on, the person is not able to come out from the duck keel. It is always important that the alarm is sounded as soon as the situation that is not normal anymore is discovered. because this will help the people who are working in enclosed spaces. There is a possibility that there are some people are sleeping, some people are working in enclosed spaces. In good time, they'll be able to come out. So one of the first things which should be done on the ship is, as soon as the alarm is sounded, the people should gather at one or two locations which are predetermined. Head count is taken. Head count is reported to the bridge. Now, in any emergency, there are several teams which should be formed on the ship, and this is in compliance with integrated contingency system, which is envisaged by IMO, which is the proposal of IMO that the ships must have this integrated contingency system. Various emergencies which can happen on the ship must be identified, and the details must be incorporated in SMS. Now, what is this integrated contingency system? Integrated contingency system believes that, every emergency that happens on the ship, the initial part and the final part generally are the same. It is the in-between procedures or the activities which are different in different emergencies. Like, for example, in initial part, you need to inform coastal state, flag state, you need to send urgency message, you need to inform the ships in vicinity, you need to inform the people on board. Like, you need to inform emergency response services, etc., etc. And later on, when you are withdrawing from the emergency situation, or the emergency situation gets aggravated, the actions are again similar. So, it should happen that the bosun, when he gets up, oh, this is fire, I should go forward. Oh, this is bilging, I should go aft. No, it should not be like that. In every emergency, the people should report to their team leaders. Now, there can be about 4 or 5 team leaders. For example, the wheelhouse, you have master, third officer, and the AB. Then on the deck, the action team is led by chief officer, support team by second officer. There is an emergency team, there is a technical team which is headed by second engineer, and engine room team that is headed by chief engineer. In all the contingencies, integrated contingency procedures, we can have these teams, and there are a same number of people or fixed number of people who would report to the team in charges. This will save time. In any emergency, in any shipboard emergency, the initial time is very, very precious. Initial time is very, very precious because not only initial time is precious, initial 1, 2, 3, 4 actions are also very important. For example, if a man is overboard, you need to do, say, 3 or 4 things immediately, instantly, right in the beginning. Otherwise, you will lose that man. So it is very important in any shipboard emergency that what are your initial actions and how fast they are taken, and for that, integrated contingency system. Now, the moment there is indication that there is some damage to the hull that has taken place on the bridge, immediately the ship's speed should be reduced and the vessel should be headed in a direction in which she is most comfortable. The ship is most comfortable. Ship is like an injured athlete. It cannot run at the same speed now. You don't have to go towards the port of refuge. The help will come towards you. Your aim is to give minimum stress to the ship, and your aim is like survival period, or the ship is going to survive for, say, next 10 hours if we go in the normal way. Your aim is the survival period is increased from 10 hours, make it 10 days. I mean, after damage, you should feel that the ship is damaged. You should feel the pain of the ship, and that's how you should find a direction and a speed in which the ship is most comfortable. The third officer on bridge, in addition to keeping the logging down various activities, helping the master in navigation, will also help master in communicating. It's very important to communicate. Communication in any emergency is the most important thing. Let the people know. Let everybody know about your problem. The ships in vicinity, port control, the coastal state, the flag state. The flag state administration needs to be informed about any casualty, right? In addition to that, you will, in general, in REM, to the world at large, you will issue, say, urgency message to start with. And if the ship is if the company is contracted with emergency response system or like organization, then you should inform them, keep them updated about the activities. Initially, you may just inform that the bilging has taken place at such and such location, and subsequently you can give details. Like normally these emergency response services, they have the details of the ship, like they have software of the ship's form, and departure condition is known to them. Then they can instantly come online to help you. Now the addresses of coastal state and flag state can be acquired from GISIS, right? Now in case there is change of trim because of bilging forward, or let us say if there is a tank which gives list to the ship, in either case there will be loss of freeboard. Now in the loaded condition, generally you have uniform freeboard all over, but this freeboard is lost because of trimming or listing. Your top priority should be to correct the freeboard. Now this freeboard is an extremely precious commodity which is given with a lot of stinginess, lot of care. Now you cannot lose the freeboard on any account. Say if the ship gets listed, freeboard is lost on one side. You have a freeboard of 5 meter on one side and 5 centimeter on other side. Your freeboard will be considered as 5 centimeter because your strength is evaluated by your weak point. 5 centimeter freeboard means you are telling the green seas, oh, green seas, please come on board and damage me. I have heard of an incident that one bad wave and the windlass was gone. Now this water, when it acts with the momentum, with the tons of water, can devastate the things on the deck. So it is extremely important that you do not lose the freeboard. After the crew has reported to their team in charges, immediately at least about 2 teams should be set up on deck to take the soundings of a damaged tank and at least the nearby spaces. The idea is to find out if the damage has remained in one compartment or it has happened to the other compartments also. Typically, say a double bottom, when it gets filled up, because of the bilging, and if the equilibrium takes place, the sounding inside will be equal to the draft outside. When we are trying to resolve the stability problem or trying to find out what has happened, it is very important to note that the soundings, when they are taken, when compared with the previous day sounding or the sounding at departure port, last port departure, will immediately reveal the profile of sounding, immediately will help us to know what has gone wrong. Now earlier I was talking about importance of freeboard, preserving the freeboard. Now details of cross flooding or equalizing are given in damage control plan. The ship's officers must make a good use of it. Now typically in case of forward damage, it is important that the liquid be filled up in some aft tank, or liquid that comes from outside in the forward tank be transferred aft. Similarly, in case of list, without wasting any time, the liquid that comes on one side should be transferred to the other side. Now in selecting the tank, it is important to take care of a few things. Number one, free surface effect is not counted in a tank that is damaged in constant displacement method. But the liquid, when it gets transferred to other tank, the free surface will count. So you may select, if there is a choice, you may select a tank with minimum free surface. You may select a tank that will reduce the stresses. For example, for the midship damage, you try to take the liquid on the forward or aft side. So while you are transferring the liquids for equalizing or preserving the freeboard, just see that the trim is reduced as much as possible, list is eliminated, free surface effect is minimum, stresses are resolved. I am sure when there was this series of bulk carriers which disappeared, one of the common reasons in most of these bulk carrier losses was Like there was a forward tank that was damaged, and probably the damage could not be detected at early stage, number one. And number two, the freeboard that was lost because of lost buoyancy in forward or aft tanks, the freeboard that was lost was not corrected for considerable period of time. Now this freeboard, when it is not corrected, it gives invitation to the green seas to board, as I told you before. So I'm sure the action was not immediately taken in respect of the forward damage. That probably led to the further losses. Another very important thing is when a forward compartment has taken water, if there is a weight of the water or the thrust because of the water. In addition, there are these sloshing stresses. Sloshing stresses can be very, very dangerous. So it is very important to monitor the bulkhead on the other side of the damaged tank. It is very, very important, because I often tell the students, like if the ship has carried iron ore and you have the heavy density cargo in hold number 1, it is very important to closely monitor the bulkhead between 1 and 2, because the moment this bulkhead gives a sign of failure, maybe particularly for bulk carriers, it may be a sign. It may be a sign that the ship might sink in next 5 minutes. If you want, you can get away from the ship as early as possible. Now many candidates, they say that after damage I will find out if there is any loss of stability. To those candidates or to anyone, I say, what would be the loss of stability after a particular damage should be studied before the voyage starts. Master should make a good study of various cases of damage, and he should find out, and he should have a good idea that if this compartment or this tank gets damaged, what will be the loss of stability. I sometimes tell the boys, like with the constant displacement method, if it is a bulk carrier, you can find out what is the sinkage for one hold. What is the sinkage if 2 holds get damaged, etc. Now I tell them how much time it will take for the calculations. Some say 5 minutes, some say 3 minutes. But I tell them, why should you do calculations after the damage? Why don't you, when you make a cargo plan, why don't you do the calculation at that time? Like if hold number 3 is damaged, this is the sinkage. Hold number 4 is damaged, this is the sinkage. And 3 and 4 both are damaged, this is the sinkage. Now it is not always that you are one compartment standard survivability ship. It may so happen that your permeability is low. Hypothetically, if you have a cargo which is loaded till slightly above the water level, and if the permeability is low, say for example 10%, I would say even 5 or 6 holds get damaged, the ship will not sink. So actually survivability is inversely proportional to the permeability. You should take care of permeability in your calculation, and permeability goes with the loss. There is loss of water plane area multiplied by permeability. There is loss of buoyancy multiplied by permeability. Permeability is always multiplied with the loss. I have made some other videos where I have shown how sinkage is calculated in constant displacement method, and I have also shown how GM is calculated. However, for a particular damage, if you look at the damage stability book, well, if you have a damage stability software, nothing like it, you press the button and you know everything. You know what will be the final draft, trim, list, etc. What will be the GZ curve like, whether you will be satisfying intact stability criteria, damage stability criteria or not. But I always tell the boys, look, satisfaction of damage stability criteria is not the ultimate. It is not that the ship is safe. It just means that ship will float with just about some stability. But your ship is not in a sound condition, right? So what are the things which you don't know? What are the things about which damage stability software, however sophisticated it is silent? Your damage stability software does not talk about the effect of waves. Damage stability software talks about loss of stability, but it cannot tell you what is the loss of strength. For example, if the midship, the underside of the ship at midship is cracked, next pitching might be the last pitching. So effect of waves and loss of strength are the unknown devils at the back of master's mind. You can't do anything about it. Damage stability software will calculate damage stability only by the amount of water that has entered the hold. So if the vessel is cracked, there may not be any entry of water, but the ship is in a very bad state. So this is a very important caution, like satisfaction of damage stability criteria should not give you a lot of relief. Now the difference in added weight method is it gives you certain things very easily. For example, list and trim. Added weight method calculations are very similar to intact stability calculation. But the problem is you have to deal with the final water level, not the initial water level. So in final water level, how much mass has come inside the ship, that will give you the list and trim. I was telling you about the loss of stability. You should look at the various conditions before the voyage starts. The master should look at various conditions. But there are certain things which a seafarer must know, and that is any damage that does not reach the final water level will increase the stability of the ship after damage. Because when the damage does not reach the final water level, for example, if there is damage to the double bottom tank, the golden rule is in every case of bilging, the KB must increase. And if the damage does not break the waterline, it does not reach the waterline, it does not break the water plane area, then BM either will remain same or slightly will increase. Which means that KB plus BM will increase and KG does not increase in constant displacement method. So there is an increase of GM if the waterline is not disturbed. And in those cases where the damage reaches the waterline, that means damage is to the hold. There is no flat or watertight deck between the damage and the final waterline. In such cases, there is a chance that the stability may remain same, may slightly decrease, or generally it will decrease. Whenever you have doubt on certain type of ship that after damage the stability might go down, please remember the weights. The golden rule is weights are welcome at the bottom, not in high areas. And buoyancy is welcome, not at the bottom, but at water level. That means if you have doubt as to, after damage the stability, how the stability would be, if you are having doubts about the stability, you might as well fill up all the double bottom tanks. Sometimes a particular damage that has happened to your ship is not precisely listed in your damage stability book. The conditions, damage conditions which are given in book can be used for many other damages which are longitudinally placed in different areas. Because GZ curve is all about the vertical loading. It is not about the longitudinal loading. The compartment that is given in damage stability book and the damage that has taken place actually, so long as the dimensions of the compartment are same, initial drafts were same, and vertical loading of the cargo and stowage factor of the cargo was same, you can use the GZ curve which is calculated in the book for your damage.